I knew something was wrong the moment my mother's voice softened over the phone. Not gentle, guilty. Beta, we won't make it to your graduation. Just like that. A sentence delivered with the weight of a falling blade. I didn't shout, didn't break. I only asked one question. Why? Her answer was a confession disguised as concern. Your sister failed her exam again. She's upset. We want to throw a small party to cheer her up. A celebration for failure? Silence for my success. And I stood there in my cap and gown, the sunlight hitting the gold tassel like a spotlight in a scene I suddenly didn't belong in. It wasn't always like this. When we were younger, my sister clung to me like a shadow, and my parents praised us as a team. But teams have captains, and I quickly learned she was theirs. Every medal I brought home was hung behind hers on the wall, even when hers were imaginary. Every time she struggled, the house paused. Every time I excelled, the house nodded. Not proud, not excited, just acknowledged. I kept telling myself it didn't matter, that love, even lopsided, was still love. That one day they'd see me, not as the dependable child, the backup plan, the emotional crutch, but as someone worth celebrating, someone worth showing up for. Graduation day was supposed to be that day, but the signs had been lining up for months. First, the money meant for my trip after finals mysteriously had to be used to cover my sister's resit fees. Then our relatives only heard stories about her struggles, never about my achievements. And finally, the night before my graduation, when I overheard my parents whispering, deciding how to break the news to me. "Let her understand," my father said. "She always does," my mother added. "Always. Understand, adjust, shrink." I realized then that this wasn't a momentary lapse. It was a pattern, one I had been trained to accept. But not anymore. I didn't confront them. I didn't plead. I simply smiled into the phone, said, "It's fine," and hung up. But something clicked inside me, a cold, precise shift, a turning of gears. I wasn't going to beg for their presence. I was going to make them regret their absence. Not loudly, not violently, just beautifully. My grandparents called the next morning, asking what time the ceremony started. I told them everything. Not dramatically, not exaggerated, just the truth. Clean, sharp, impossible to twist. Their silence told me enough. My grandmother inhaled, long and trembling. "So they chose a party over your graduation?" "Yes." An hour later, they called my parents. Another hour after that, they transferred a large sum, money they had been giving my parents monthly, assuming it supported my education. Instead, they sent it directly to me. Their message was simple: we support the child who respects hard work, not the one who runs from it. My parents panicked. They called, texted, demanded I explain the misunderstanding, begged me to tell my grandparents they were overreacting. I told them I would, after the ceremony, knowing full well they wouldn't dare show their faces there now, not after being exposed. I walked the stage smiling, feeling, for the first time, seen. Not by them, but by myself. That evening, my grandparents invited me to dinner, handed me the financial transfer confirmation, and said, "This is yours now, for your future." I thanked them, calm, steady, in control. Inside, something victorious unfurled. When I finally answered my parents' call, my mother's voice trembled. "Why would you tell them? You made us look horrible." I almost laughed. "I didn't make you look anything. I just stopped covering for you." My father exhaled sharply. "You're being unreasonable." "Because I let the truth speak?" I asked. "Because your grandparents think we don't support you." "But you don't," I said quietly, "and now they know." There was a long silence, the kind that exposes people, the kind that forces them to face the ruins of their own choices. My sister tried to take the phone. "Why are you acting like this?" I just needed comfort. You got comfort, I said. You always do. This time, I got justice. The line went dead. Not accidentally, deliberately. I expected guilt, maybe sadness. Instead, I felt lighter, like someone had finally unlocked a door I'd been scratching at for years. Some betrayals don't come from enemies. Some come from the people who assume your love is unconditional and your patience infinite. They mistake your silence for acceptance, your endurance for weakness. But that day I learned something powerful. I am not their second choice. I am simply done choosing them. And the money, the support, the sudden shift in family dynamics? Those were just consequences of a truth finally spoken. My real revenge was simpler. I graduated. Without them, and I didn't miss them at all.